2024 at 7:02 p.m. And can we please get members present?
Manufo Liainga Anawai,
Here.
Aaron Rashba,
Here.
Anthony Sujisaka is absent, Andrea Jordan,
Here.
Shaquille Aline.
Here. And we'll ask Superintendent McCulick to please lead us in the pledge.
Please stand. Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. And before we approve the agenda, I think there was a request to remove an item or table it.
Yes, I would like to make a request to remove item 7D. I feel like I need a little more time to consider this item and would request to table this for a later meeting.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. So was that a motion to approve the agenda with that change, or I kind of
Yes.
lost track? Okay.
Mhm.
So we have a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimously approved. All right, now we have a public hearing. Public hearing on by trustee area elections, item 5A. The JESD governing board is considering moving the district to the by trustee area method in future elections, and at this public hearing seeks to receive comments from the JESD community about its interest in such a change. And we have no speaker cards, correct? Okay, thank you. So we're opening this hearing at 7:05 and closing at 7:06. Item 5B, public hearing to review and approve a resolution on the district's sufficiency of pupils' textbooks. The governing board of the Jefferson Elementary School District will hear public comments on the resolution stating the sufficiency of textbooks and instructional materials at every school for the 2024 to 25 school year is consistent with their alignment to state content standards and most recent adoption cycles. Any public? Okay. And we open this hearing at 7:06 and close at 7:07. All right, communications, item 6A, board member acknowledgements and commendations. And we'll start on the right with Trustee Liana Anoa'i.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to see everyone this evening here in person and online. I just want to say that I've been following the happenings of our district with information and email and just seeing folks in the community. And I also just want to say thank you for the grace that has been extended. I've actually received messages from some of the staff who've checked on me during my times not being here at the meetings. And I want to just say that when we're not here, some people aren't always aware. And unfortunately for me, my daughter has been in and out of the hospital since July with several surgeries, and it has kept me away. But I'm so thankful to my colleagues on the board and our superintendent who has kept me abreast and has allowed me to be able to participate, at least in my absence through direct communication. But I want to thank those of you that have reached out to me directly and that I was able to communicate my unfortunate situation that is slowly progressing to improving. And thank you for your prayers. And I want to just continue to commend our team. There's so many wonderful things happening in our district. And as we approach the upcoming election, I love hearing from some of the parents who have reached out that they have been engaged in different conversations when they meet up at the schools. And they've even shared that some of their kids come home asking about this upcoming election, which tells me those are conversations that are happening in our schools and are being elevated. And it's so important because that level of civic engagement isn't always touched, and not because we don't want to, but because it is not something that our kids in elementary, at least through K through 5, are able to really understand. So I've had 9 parents directly reach out to me and say that my kid's coming home and said they're talking about this, if not with a fellow student, the teachers have raised it in their classrooms. And I think that's quite amazing to discuss the electoral process, because a lot of our future hinders on how we vote at the ballot box. So I hope that we can continue to communicate that message to ensure, if we're not already registered to vote, to do so, and to make sure that we all vote. But keep up the great work, remain well, and remain safe. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to briefly build on some of the comments of Trustee Lianga-Nawai, and just say that, of course, election season is upon us, and I wanted to encourage every person watching tonight and member of the public to please take the time to educate yourself on all candidates, issues, and matters coming before us in the important November 5th election, from the top to the bottom of the ballot. And that, of course, includes the governance of this school district, which is publicly governed. So we appreciate the time that several members of our community took to learn about our elections during the information sessions and other sessions that we've had in recent weeks. And please continue your involvement. And as my fellow trustee said, please make sure you are registered and vote. Those ballots went out, and we want to see full participation of everybody in our community. Thank you.
I just wanted to echo those sentiments. No matter what your viewpoints are, make sure that you have your voice heard, and that vote is your voice being heard. And then I also wanted to just thank everyone who is listening in tonight, everyone that's here in person for coming to our meeting, and hoping everyone is excited about the cool weather that has come back to our community. I didn't realize I would miss the fog so much until day 9 of hot weather. So hoping everyone was staying cool and staying hydrated, and I'm looking forward to a productive meeting.
Thank you. And I just want to commend all of our teachers. We just recently had October 5th, which was World Teachers Day. And I didn't even realize that was our day, but one of my students saw it on Google Classroom. And she said, "Hey, today's World Teachers Day. Happy Teachers Day." So that's my commendation to all of our teachers. And superintendent comments.
Yes. So I would also like to share my thanks. I would like to thank our IT team for helping with our network outage recently, and they were able to restore our systems. And I want to especially thank our director, Tony Baroni, who led the team and worked tirelessly to restore our systems. Also, next week is Week of the School Administrator. So we want to just share our appreciation for all of our administrators at the school and district level, because we can't do this work without strong leadership, and so we appreciate them. Another thing I want to share is we had last week an information night on iReady, which is our online platform for reading and math in our 3rd through 8th grade, and we had over 180 families attend, which was huge. So I thought that was something to highlight and share. And then also just to remind everyone that on Monday there is no school for students. Monday, October 14th, schools are closed in observance of Indigenous Peoples Day. The district office is open, but schools are closed. We want to make sure people don't bring their child to school that day. But we do have, I believe there's an intercession that day too.
Thank you. I also forgot to mention and also commend the district, and especially Stephanie Martinez and Luisa Santos for the Immigrant Resource Night in our collaboration with the high school district. I attended, and there was just so many people from the community there. That was my first time going, so I didn't know what to expect, but it was very inspirational and nice to see the high school district's new building as well. Do we have any persons wishing to address the board? Okay, so item 6C, we'll move on. Item 7A, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor, oh, excuse me, this is a roll call.
Ms. Leah Inga Anawai,
Aye.
Mr. Rashba,
Aye.
Ms. Jordan,
Aye.
Mr. Ali,
Aye. Unanimously approved. Item 7D has been removed and tabled. So are we voting to table it or I don't
Well, it's been removed, so we can add it to a future agenda item later.
okay, so we didn't set a date tonight.
No.
Okay. Item okay, action. Let's skip.
We're on 8D.
Oh, okay. I thought you said I skipped. Item 8D, resolution number 241009, availability of textbooks and instructional materials. The administration recommends approval of resolution number 24109 that ensures that students in the district have enough textbooks and other instructional materials in each subject area that are consistent with their alignment to state content standards and most recent adoption cycles. Do we have a motion to approve or any questions about this? Okay, motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution number 24-10-09.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and this is a roll call.
Ms. Leah Inga Anawai,
Aye.
Mr. Rashba,
Aye.
Ms. Jordan,
Aye.
Mr. Ali,
Aye, unanimously approved. Item 8E, single plan for student achievement 2023 to 2024. The administration recommends approval of the single plan for student achievement for the following JESD schools: Daniel Webster, Franklin D. Roosevelt, and Margaret P. Brown, as developed by their school site council and site staff members. Representatives from each school will share highlights from their school plans.
Yes, so I would like to invite up, we'll start with Daniel Webster. And Daniel Webster's SIPSA, or Single Plan for Student Achievement, was actually already approved in June, but the other two schools need their plans approved tonight, so you will be taking action to approve. But Ms. Yuen will be sharing highlights from her plan that has already been approved.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, board members and district office administration. My name is Rochelle Ewan, and I'm a proud principal of Daniel Webster Elementary School. Having been at Daniel Webster for a year now, I've gotten to know the community, the staff, the students, and the families, and it's a really great community to be at. So just wanted to share a few highlights from our SIPSA. Oh, I do. So these are just a couple of the key points from this past year. We've made some gains in our CAST, not as much as we'd like, but definitely some gains, small incremental movements in our CASP. As you can see in our English language arts, we've moved from 36.36% to 39.56%. As well as in our CASP in math, we gained a few percentage points from 30.39 to 33.53. So with those, even though they're small movements, they're movements in the right direction. So I wanted to celebrate the students and the staff for that. Also, our attendance average is up for August and September. As you can see, the year-over-year growth in the bottom graph, where we were last year at this time compared to where we are currently with our attendance. So there are definitely some areas of growth that we need to work on. The first that I'd like to focus on at Daniel Webster is our attendance. Last year, there was 24.6% of our students were chronically absent. For that, I think we had about 92 point something percent for our average daily attendance. As you can see, for the attendance for August, we were at 96.3. And for September at 95.2. So we're keeping track of it, making sure that we're paying attention to attendance and reaching out to families month by month. And again, those were our percentage points from last year, 2 years ago, and then last year for our CASP and the growth that we've made. But we definitely have plenty of room to grow with our ELA and our math scores in the 39th and 33 percentile. We also want to focus on our multilingual learners. Currently, their English language proficiency was at 33.66 in 2022-2023 school year, and then we dropped to 48.84% in 23-24. So it's an area of focus that we want to focus on this year. Positive school climate was at 58% last year, or this beginning of the year, and we have 88% of supportive relationships. So just kind of areas that we want to focus on this coming school year. And what we want to look at in these key areas are in their student learning and achievement, focusing on the UDL techniques that are being implemented and observed by myself, as well as fellow teachers when they do visit each other's classrooms. I also want to make sure that we have our ELD and MTSS teacher in place. Currently, we do have a substitute teacher in that role, and so I'm focusing some time and effort to make sure that those programs get up and running. Our leadership team also has subcommittees at this point with our data action subcommittee, which will look at data, share it with the staff, and hopefully move our school forward, as well as an instructional support committee where colleagues visit each other and recognize and support one another in the classroom. For our multilingual learners, we want to focus on our systematic ELD instruction at all grade levels and make sure that ELD strategies are being integrated into classroom lessons on a daily basis. We also want to make sure that we're scheduling time and courage for teachers to observe each other in implementing these strategies. We have a number of new teachers at Daniel Webster this year, and so we've already begun the process of having the new teachers visit veteran teachers' classrooms. Also, teachers administer the LPAC so they become more familiar with what the students need to know in order to make gains in that area. For our positive school climate, we're trying to increase our attendance. Currently, we have increased yard supervision more this year than we had last year in hopes to create a better positive school environment. We also have a full-time counselor and a part-time mental health intern who've already started working. This year, we've implemented we've had student of the month assemblies, but this year we've also implemented perfect attendance month by month, and they get little certificates and brag tags, and we're planning classroom celebrations for the highest rates of attendance in the school. We're working on solidifying and kind of strengthening our PBIS Tier 1 with biweekly assemblies and what we call Leopard Loot, which is positive recognition for our students. As far as parent engagement goes, we are looking at family events that we've had in the past and adding more on. So last year we had the bunny hop, but we want to add family activity nights as well as garden days. We have a number of volunteer opportunities, and we've been able to get some families in to work in the classrooms and volunteer as well as a schoolyard, but our typical school site council and PTA memberships as well. And working on increasing our communication, not only through myself, through newsletters and dojo messages, but all of our teachers reaching out to families on a weekly basis. So that's kind of Daniel Webster in a nutshell this year.
Thank you. So next, we'll save questions till the end, if you don't mind. So next, we'll have our Franklin D. Roosevelt principal, Miss Aubrey Duffy.
Hello and good evening, members of the board and district office members. I'm Aubrey Duffy, new principal at FDR. So this was my first year creating the single plan for student achievement. It was definitely an eye-opening experience and really good to dig deep into the data and learn more about the school, even though I've been there for 3 years, but thinking about it and learning about it in a new capacity and through a new lens has been really interesting. So I have some highlights to start off. Really exciting this last school year, through our panorama survey, 89% of students in grades 3 through 5 felt that they had supportive relationships with friends or family or staff members. That was a 9% increase throughout the last school year. So we worked really hard with our teachers to implement more SEL, social emotional learning, lessons or activities within the classroom, and 75% of our 6th through 8th graders also answered favorably. For our math end of the year assessment, the CASP, we had a proficiency score of 33.2%. So that was a 4% increase from the 22 to 23 school year. Of course, we have lots of room to grow, but I appreciate any growth that we're making. So we're on an upward trend. The next thing that I really want to highlight is that our chronic absenteeism has decreased by 5%, which is really exciting. We're still at about 20%, which I'll cover in the next slide. But the decrease of 5%, we were at about 25% at the 22-23 school year, is really a considerable growth. So we do have some areas to grow, of course. We still do have 20% of our students chronically absent, meaning they're missing 10% or more of school. 10% can be like 1 day a month throughout the entire school year. And so really just we're reminding families the importance of coming to school every day. Again, I think a lot of things have changed since the pandemic years, right? And even though students may, get sick, if they have the sniffles or a cough, it's still okay to come to school, maybe wear a mask, but it's still okay. So we also had, for ELA, 39% of students meeting or exceeding the standard. That was pretty much maintained from the year before, so I'd like to see some more growth for our reading assessment. Some intervention strategies that we're doing. Monthly, we do a perfect attendance Student of the Month award, which is we focus on a different character trait every month. We also do iReady and Lexia awards to recognize students working hard on those online platforms. We invite families to those assemblies to just build in some more community. In terms of attendance, we send home Attendance Works. It's an online website that has a lot of great attendance resources. So we send home information from them monthly. At the beginning of the year, I send home attendance nudge letters, which go to our chronically absent students to say you were absent X amount last year. We really want to see you come to school more this year. How can we help? How can we partner to get you to school more frequently? I do monthly and weekly, depending on this family, attendance intervention phone calls to continue to ask students to come to school and encourage families and figure out what the barriers are that are holding families back from getting their kids to school. In terms of UDL and ELD strategies, I'm doing principal walkthroughs of classrooms, getting into every classroom multiple times a day. And we also have a leadership team subcommittee where a few of our teachers are going in to classrooms each month, focusing on a different aspect of UDL, and then coming back and we're talking about how we can help support staff at our staff meetings through professional development. So we have 5 priority areas that we're really focusing on this year. Student achievement. So again, we're focusing on that UDL implementation. This year is really great. We have a full-time MTSS and ELD teacher. So that teacher is working with one of our grade levels very closely on math and is doing a co-teaching model. She also supports multilingual learners as the ELD teacher. We do a lot of informed decision-making, especially with our other leadership team subcommittee, the data action team, where again, each time we're taking these diagnostic tests, we are looking at the data and making informed decisions for teachers' instruction and how we can support through staff meeting professional development. Parent engagement, we do have essentially monthly PTA events. We have a Rising Stars and a show choir program through Spindrift. That is a performing arts organization from Pacifica. I know some of you were able to attend our Matilda musical last year. We're going to do a Lion King program later this school year, so you're welcome to come. I'd really love for that. I have monthly principal chats where I'm inviting families in. We have coffee, a little snack. We talk about any issues that might come up and problem solve together as a community. We also have our STEM night in the spring where all teachers have a different station, and we usually have a lot of families attend that, and they get to experience STEM in a fun way with their family. Our next initiative is to support multi-language learners. Again, we have that full-time ELD instructor, which is a huge support for our students. We're also integrating ELD strategies within every classroom. We focus on a different ELD strategy every month at our staff meetings. We're utilizing 2 online programs, Imagine Learning and Rosetta Stone, to support our newcomer students in acquiring the English language as fast as they possibly can. In terms of positive school climate, we've worked really hard on social emotional learning throughout the last few years. Teachers are implementing daily community circles. We do our monthly attendance assemblies. I was part of the restorative practices team with other administrators across the district. So we are encouraging teachers to use restorative practices within the classroom, going along with those community circles. Again, we focus daily and monthly on SEL activities, and we are very fortunate to have a counselor and an intern that do social lunch groups. We're working with the Northeast Medical SNEMS services, thank you, who have a couple of people come in for music therapy. And I walked in yesterday and students were making up their own raps, and that was really cool. The 5th initiative is working on attendance. So again, sending home regular notifications to families, working with families really closely by conducting empathy interviews to figure out what those barriers are that are preventing students from getting to school every day on time. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Before our next principal explains, we've mentioned UDL quite a bit, so I want to make sure the board and the public understands what UDL is. It stands for Universal Design for Learning, and it's guidelines for teachers as they develop their lessons to remove barriers to learning for all students. And so when we refer to UDL, it's really using a universally designed lesson template to remove learning barriers.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent McCulloch, and Assistant Superintendents. My name is Beth Goff, and I'm the principal of MP Brown, and I get to do one of the things that I love right now, which is brag on MP Brown. We are the school where reading is thinking. And let's see if I got that right. So this year, 2024, we were honored with the Platinum Presentation Award from California PBIS. So California State PBIS recognizes us as a platinum level school for our behavior, climate, and all those good things. So we're woohoo. Our ELA and math scores are increasing. Our ELD scores are increasing. We are super excited. 73%. We're so close. Of our K2 students are reading at or above grade level. We're proud. We are working diligently, but we've got room to grow. And as you can see, we've still got some red, but what's really cool about our growth areas is that the yellow is growing, green is growing, and blue is growing, red is getting smaller. And that's our goal, is to be growing in those areas. And we've got some fun things planned. I'll come back in the springtime and share them. I'll just give you a snippet of it tonight. We started Morning Drop Zone. We have our attendance campaign, Be Present, Be Powerful, to work on our chronic absenteeism. We were at 14.5% last year. Our goal is to get it down to 10% this year. We've been hovering about 60% for second, third, fourth, and fifth grade for reading and math at grade level. So what we've done this year, we've created our upper grade multi-age classrooms. We have 3, 4, 5 multi-age classrooms. Part of that was enrollment, part of that was because of our YCP commitment, but also these are third and fourth graders are our kids who are hit hardest in the pandemic. Fourth graders were the kindergartners. So behaviors and social things, we just wanted to create a kind of a blank slate, and it's been a lot of hard work. Our fourth and fifth grade teachers are doing an amazing job, but it's paying off. We're excited about what we're doing, and we can't wait to bring the kids and the teachers back to you guys in the springtime to really show you what that looks like. All of our teachers are participating in literacy training, CRLP, like we said, the UDL piece. We also have an MTSS grant that we're using. We have a K-1 instructional aid that is supporting our kindergarten and first grade teachers throughout the school day as well. So what does that mean? So our, like I said, school climate and in chronic absenteeism, we are on the right path. We started drop zone this year. We just got our furniture last week. So opening up our school at 7 a.m. for parents to drop off. So immediately we've seen a decrease in our tardies. We went from about 20 to 30 tardies every morning to down to 10 to 15. So already positive impact. Our biggest feat this year is that we are fully staffed. It is the first time since the pandemic at MP Brown that we have a full-time counselor and an ELD MTSS teacher. That's huge for what we can do and where our pockets, that's part of why we think we were hovering around that 60% piece, is because we know where our pockets were, but we don't. Now that we have the ELD MTSS person, they can do that coaching piece in with those pockets. This counselor is working on all of our SEL full time in the classrooms, all that good work. Our check in, check out systems is back up and running. So things that we were trying to team tag, we are now able to hand off and share the wealth of what we're doing. English language development, all of our teachers at MP Brown are CIS-ELD trained. We revisit our training often, and all of our, so designated and integrated ELD happen all day long. It's not just in TIG time, but integrated ELD is developed throughout the day. It's also, we've created MTSS flexible grouping. So within 2 to 3 weeks, we do the screening. 2 to 3 weeks later, groups are up and running and changing. If our instruction isn't working, we're changing it really quickly, because we don't need kids to wait for a long period of time. 6 to 8 weeks is too long. Too much time has passed. So we think this year we're super excited. We're going to hit 70% at least. So that's us in a nutshell.
The President, in education, we love our acronyms. So I know you've seen a lot of acronyms. So if there's any that you want us to clarify, please let us know. And we'll try to make sure that we spell out the acronyms in the future too.
Maybe PBIS is worth.
Sure. Positive Behavior Intervention Support. So it's that positive school climate and culture work that we're doing. It's usually the schools have typically 3 school rules: be safe, be respectful, be responsible. And then there's all these expectations that come with it. And then students are rewarded and acknowledged for following those rules and showcasing that they are showing good character traits, etc. And MTSS is multi-tiered system of support.
Do we have any other comments or actually questions from board members?
I have one comment and one question. The comment is thank you so much to the teachers that presented today. We really appreciate that information, and I'm really happy to see some really great things happening at our schools. The question that I have is on the Daniel Webster presentation, there was the graph, and it showed that in December, there was a large dip. Essentially during the holidays, people are taking time off. I was wondering if this is something that we're seeing at multiple locations, if we've been able to compare, like, is that the time frame? And if so, how are we, because I know we're doing things every day to get attendance up and running, but being that that's a hot pocket, how are we going to, I guess, emphasize during that time frame that even though we know that the holidays are a time to spend with family, it's still important to get our children in the classroom?
Yeah, it is seen throughout the district, that dip. It's not only vacation time, that's flu season. So we do see a bigger spike in attendance absences because of illnesses at that time. And if I recall last year, I think there was a spike in flu and COVID going around at that time. So hopefully as we, the length of time people are out for the flu and COVID is shrinking. And then also just messaging out about the importance of staying in school, and then also independent study for families that do need to go visit family overseas or be out of school, that they use independent study as a way to make sure their students are still learning, and then that can be captured up there as well.
Perfect. And I have maybe two requests possibly. I think it was really great, honestly, to see that graph and the comparison from previous years. I would like to request, if possible, that as we get future plans, that if we're talking about attendance, that we could get that comparison. I just think that it would be really helpful to see the continuous growth and increase, hopefully increase, in our attendance being higher than it was in previous
Do you mean
years.
as a district or as single plans at the
Single
school
plans?
sites?
And I mean, I guess both, if possible. It would be great to just see that. I know we talk about it, but seeing it visually is really, really helpful if it's possible.
It is possible. And these graphs or these images here, or these charts, are from our new Schoolalytics system. And so this is the first time we've actually been able to see this. So you'll probably be seeing it more because we're discovering all of our graphs in Schoolalytics, which we just rolled out with this new data. So yes, it's possible.
Perfect. And then the only other request that I would have, because we were just talking about the acronyms, is there a way to get like an acronym playbook or an acronym? Because I do think that it would be helpful not only for the public, but even just for us. And CASP and MTSS and SIPS, like people are going to be like, what are we talking about? Is it another language? So I just want to make sure that it is accessible, I guess, to the public as well as ourselves during these kinds of conversations.
As I was watching the presentation, I was thinking to myself, oh, you know what? We probably should have everyone spell these things out in our future presentations. That I will make sure from now on that we'll spell it out, because even if you have a glossary in front of you, people at home might not. So we'll follow up with the next group to see if they can and then in the future to spell out all the acronyms, because we love our acronyms. It makes conversation easy for us, but not for the general public.
Thank you.
I just want to say that I have a shared sentiment of what was brought up with Trustee, I'm losing my mind, Jordan. Visual aids, I had noted here that I thought that was very beneficial, and I would imagine that our families at home, because sometimes you can't always see the print, but I was gravitating, and it captured my attention and was able for me to really understand the growth, to see the graphs. So I'm a bit jealous that I'm down to 3 minutes to 3 meetings to hear that there's some improvements that are coming into place. But I do recall that we talked about acronyms, I think even at the top of the year at one of our meetings, as board members, we had one included in one of our packets. So I would love to have, you know how we have this here? I think that it would be nice to be included like a Bible for us to refer to. I would imagine that these acronyms would come up frequently, but I do appreciate that they'll be spelled out. I want to say that I love seeing the progress that is happening and at all our schools, but I want to just highlight, I will say that I'm biased I'm going to own my MP Brown. I'm an MP Brown family, but my sister lives and her kids have gone through FDR. And I want to just commend you coming in as a new principal there and seeing the creativity that you've brought forth and shared with us. I just want to shout you out. I think that that's incredible. And I think that that's something that is being highlighted tonight. And I'm sure that, all of our site staff and principals are doing just as much to ensure that we're seeing that. But seeing FDR be able to lift that, and like I say, having a personal connectedness with my sister and her family across the street, I just want to shout you out, and not to minimize the incredible work that's been lifted by our other two principals. I just want to just say that tonight, and thank you all. This work continues, and the parent engagement piece for me and my colleagues know has always been big for me. When we talk about positive climate, a lot of it comes from the home, and for all of you to be able to engage parents, and we've been seeing that. We've been seeing that and we've been hearing that. And that's what creates that level of connectedness and positive culture and climate. That's PBIS. That really is. And it is a collective effort. And that impact can't happen if families don't feel that energy coming from your team. So I imagine that this progress is being felt deeply because that's the energy that you're putting forth and that you're modeling for your fellows in other school sites. And so that will always be a big piece for me. And I just want to say thank you for highlighting that and ensuring that that is a priority, because I think that that is a ripple effect for all of our families to feel engaged, to be seen, and be more actively involved, not just at school, but at home, because you're modeling it. So thank you.
Thank you, Principals Wen, Duffy, and Goff, for your excellent presentations. I really learned a lot, and similar to my fellow trustees, I'm really encouraged to see the positive progress being made at each of your schools. I was curious about, just looking at your goals and actions, and, the goals were very similar, similar to the district's goals, and then your actions, you have really different strategies. And I was just curious about the development of those items. I don't know if any of you wants to talk about how that's done. Is that generated from the school site council primarily? Are the goals coming from you and the specific strategies, done in council meetings, or a combination?
I'll answer the goal part. The goal is aligned to the LCAP.
Yeah.
So all schools have the same goals. The actions are determined by the school, but a lot of the actions are aligned and similar across the district. But I'll let Ms. Goff explain how it's developed.
Yeah, so all of our actions are same, but different, because a lot of it comes through our AC meetings where PD is shared, the collaborative leads.
Can I have you spell out those acronyms for us, please?
AC, Administrative Council, Academic Council, Okay, we're the Administrative Council. So that's all of the site leaders and district office and SPED department. We all come together every other week, and Pam and Dina quite often do different activities around universal design lessons and social emotional learning. See, I can't finish in 5 minutes when I have to say. Some of the actions come from things that we've been doing at our school sites just differently, because of the community needs, because of maybe parent engagement, and also because of our teachers, right? Their loves and their passions and the things that drive them are also things that we, as the leaders of the school site, tap into to create that momentum and create that positive climate. So the actions kind of come from all these different places, with the goal being that we're all in line with the district.
So how about the role of the school site council? My understanding was that the SIPSA, which I can't totally spell out. a
Single
school-
plan for student achievement.
Thank you. Came from the school site council. And I'm just curious if you're getting good participation on that, or if this is a main topic of discussion, or those meetings are used for other.
Well, the school site council meets like at least 4 times a year, right? And so part of that is you have teachers on school site council, you have parents, you have the administrators, and so based on your actions are kind of based on everybody's input, right? And it's not, and it could be things that we're doing as a PTA or as a site leadership team. So kind of everything comes kind of together, and that's kind of our role as the leaders of the school, is to take all those pieces and kind of help draft that plan and then give it to school site council and say, is this who we are? Is this where we want to go? Is this where we're investing our time and money, our energy and efforts? So it's kind of it's a compilation of pulling everything in from, and school site council is the ones that kind of say, yes, this is good.
All right, thanks once again for all the work that you all do every day for our students and, to improve student achievement in our district. So thank you. So do we have a motion to approve these single plans for student achievement? Well, I know one was already approved, but motion?
I have a question. Since one was already approved, do we need to make note that the approval is just for the specific 2, or do we just make a motion for?
I think you can make a motion to approve the single plans for student achievement.
Perfect. I'll make a motion to approve the single plan for student achievement for the 2023-2024 school year.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Unanimously approved. Item 9J, resolution number 24-10-9A. Resolution of the Board of Education of the Jefferson Elementary School District authorizing the issuance of Jefferson Elementary School District election of 2022 general obligation bonds, Series C, and actions related thereto. The administration recommends approval of this resolution to issuance of Jefferson Elementary School District election of 2022 general obligation bonds, Series C, and actions related thereto.
Yes, so we have Chris Hyatt from Keegan, who is here. She has a little presentation for you, and it's for this item and the next item, which are similar. So we'll call her up, and she'll share the presentation.
Good evening. Thank you for having me back again tonight. We're here tonight to talk about the 2 resolutions before you approving 2 different issuances of bonds, which I'll go through in this presentation. As a recap, you may remember that Measure J was approved by your voters back in June of 2022 for $45 million, with a tax rate of $15.70 per 100,000 of assessed valuation. To date, the district has sold 2 series of bonds, Series A for $22.5 million and Series B for $10 million, leaving $12.5 million left to be sold. Whenever we talk about bonds, we have to talk about the district's assessed valuation, or AV, because it is property taxes levied against the assessed valuation that repays these bonds. So later on in the presentation, you'll see that we have to make an assumption of where your tax base or your AV will be in future years. we're assuming 3.5% as the long-term growth assumption. And you can see from these averages that you've been well above that number over the last few years. And the latest data that came from the county showed 8.12% growth over the 24-25 fiscal year. So very, very strong growth in this area. In terms of interest rates, I think we're all pretty well aware of what's been going on, but due to inflation, interest rates rose pretty dramatically through 2022, but the Fed has made the decision to cut rates and made the largest cut, I think in 16 years or something like that, of 0.5% last month. The bullet point on the bottom, according to the CME Group, investors believe another cut is coming. I think this was true as of about a week and a half ago. We now believe that cut will be a little bit smaller, but we are expecting future interest rate cuts as well as the Fed is tapering down the higher rates. So before you tonight is a resolution to issue the Series C bonds, the final installment of this bond measure for $12.5 million. We're currently targeting a tax rate of $13.20. As I mentioned earlier, the voter-approved tax rate was $15.70, so we're coming in below what we had estimated to voters, which is fantastic. The current interest rate assumption, 4.13%, is below what Series A and B were and lower than what we had assumed for the entire bond program. So great news there as well. And the assessed valuation growth rates we already talked about, up to 3.5% on the long term. And you can see how those bonds are layered together on the right-hand side, with the yellow bars representing the first installment, Series A, that you already sold. Green is Series B that you already sold, and then the blue or purple, I can't tell what color that is, that represents the final installment that we're talking about tonight, such that the overall tax rate that voters will be paying is about $13.20 in every year through 2049. Estimated total cost of this final installment, about $20.7 million, including all costs. Also before you tonight is a resolution for what's called refunding bonds. It's another fancy term for refinancing. Because rates have been coming down, the district has the opportunity to refinance some prior bonds that were issued in 2012, the election of 2012 Series C bonds. And the way it works is kind of similar to how you refinance a home mortgage, where you take the prior higher cost bonds and replace them with new lower cost bonds. But unlike a home mortgage, the term is not extended. So under state law, we cannot extend the term of the bonds. That would remain the same. The numbers I'm going to show you tonight already include all estimated costs, and all the costs are paid from the bond proceeds, so no cost to the district. There's one kind of specific rule that we're following for these. The bonds are callable, meaning they can't be refinanced until September of 2025. And so in order to receive tax-exempt interest rates, which are much lower than taxable interest rates, we cannot close the financing until 90 days prior to that, which would be June of 2025. So if we were to sell the bonds now, it would be considered a forward delivery because we couldn't close until next year. Because of that, investors say, well, if you're not going to close on my financing for a few months, I want a monthly interest rate penalty, which we already included in these numbers. That penalty is about 0.05% per month. So you'll see that it's already incorporated into the savings numbers. So under current interest rates, we're seeing about 3% present value savings on the refinancing. The benchmark is 3%. So we're just barely there right now. The good news is that by doing this now, you're coupling it with the other Series C bonds. So there are some economies of scale, meaning that the cost to issuance of the refinancing are lower because the rating fee is shared, the legal fees are shared, all the fees are shared. So that it makes sense to do them together when we're able. But of course, interest rates continue to fluctuate. So I know that last Friday, for instance, interest rates were up 0.1%. And every day it goes up and down. So we'll continue to monitor this. But if we are able, and if interest rates allow, it makes sense to do the refinancing at the same time as the other series of bonds. And lastly, there's no cost to authorize it. So if you approve it tonight, we'll just continue monitoring it, and we'll work with district staff to see if it makes sense when we're selling the Series C bonds, whether we want to move forward or not. If we end up not moving forward, no cost to the district. So total savings right now is shown in the green column, about $550,000 in total savings to taxpayers. So this is savings only for taxpayers, not for the district. And on the top right-hand corner, you can see that present value savings is at 3.03%, so just barely over that 3% benchmark. So something we'd like to keep monitoring. Obviously would love for that savings number to get higher, but it's completely dependent on the market. knowing that there may be another interest rate cut coming in November means these savings may get higher by the time the Series C bonds are sold. But approving it tonight would allow us to continue monitoring it and potentially move forward if it makes sense to do so. And the last slide in terms of next steps. So before you tonight are the two different resolutions, first for the Series C bonds and secondly for the refinancing. If approved, we would take information to Moody's later this month to get an updated credit rating. The district currently has a AA1 credit rating, which is just shy of the highest possible credit rating for California school districts. So congratulations on having that such strong credit rating. From there, we would finalize information for investors by mid-November, sell the bonds November 19th, and close the Series C bonds December 10th. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, the refinancing couldn't close until June of next year if we move forward on it. So that's all I have for you tonight. Do you have any questions?
Any questions?
Just wondering, so that 3% benchmark, what's the time frame where you evaluate that? Like,
Yeah, so probably a week before the bonds would sell. So probably around November 12th or so, we would decide whether it makes sense, if we're happy with the savings level. So we'd be in communication with district staff on whether we want to move forward at that point. And I did forget to mention, the district has refinanced bonds 4 times since 2012, saving about $9.5 million on prior refinancings. So this is something the district has done before on behalf of taxpayers as a fiduciary to taxpayers.
and the Fed meeting is when?
I think it was November 9th. Let me check.
Okay,
So we would have that
Have that
information.
information
November
before
7th,
selling.
excuse me.
Yeah.
Yes. And some of that's already baked in. So as we get closer to November 7th, it's not going to be an immediate interest rate drop on November 7th because investors will already have a sense of whether it's going to happen or not before that meeting. But as we get closer, I'm hopeful that rates will continue coming down.
The only question that I have would be, because I guess in the past, have we seen that even though we can't really, I guess because we have to wait until June of next year, have in the past we seen lack of interest because of that? And I guess secondarily, do we already have interest, and do we know that at this time?
So no, we haven't started marketing the bonds yet since the bond sale is so far away.
Yep.
The marketing usually happens about a week before. So on that bullet that says finalize the POS, that stands for the preliminary official statement. It's about a 150-page document that's included in draft form in your board agenda. That gets published for investors, and that's when the underwriter starts getting a sense of who wants to actually purchase the bonds. But what I'll say is on these forward delivery refinancings, the ones that don't close until next year, we sold 2 of them last week, one for a district in Sacramento and one for a district up in Marin, and we received a lot of investor interest.
I'm curious if school district credit ratings are as sometimes opaque as consumer credit ratings, and if there are clear benchmarks that you know of where we could get to that highest level of.
Yes, there are pretty clear benchmarks. A lot of it has to do with reserve levels. So obviously districts that have 30% plus in reserves are going to look more favorably than a district that has 10% reserves. And some of that comes down to leadership, whether you want to be saving or spending on students. So it's different by various districts. Another thing that helps with parcel taxes, obviously, the value of your tax base and the incomes of residents, the ability to pay their taxes in order to pay for these bonds, all of that is incorporated. So obviously you have a very strong local economy here. Obviously the best management in the state, right? But certainly I think the biggest thing for most districts is declining enrollment, and reserve levels are holding back most districts at this point.
Flattery will get you everywhere. Thank you.
Well, I don't have any questions, and I'm glad that you mentioned that we've refinanced several times. I've been a part of that, and I'm always glad when we're able to put a little money back in the pockets of our residents. So thank you so much. And so, are we gonna just do both of these back to back, or how do you?
Yes, you can do that. I don't know if you can do in one motion. I would probably do one at a time since they're both resolutions that need a roll call vote.
All right. So, do we have a motion to approve the
You could just name the resolution number.
election in 2022 bond series C?
Motion to approve resolution number 241009A.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and this is a roll call.
Ms. Leah Inga Anawai,
Aye.
Mr. Rashba,
Aye.
Ms. Jordan,
Aye.
Mr. Ali,
Aye, unanimously approved. And now we have 9K, item 9K, resolution number 241009B. Yeah, I'll just skip it to here.
I'll move
We
to,
could just have a motion, yeah.
move to approve resolution 24109B.
Second.
First and a second, can we get a roll call?
Ms. Leah Inga Anawai,
Aye.
Mr. Rashba,
Aye.
Ms. Jordan,
Aye.
Mr. Ali,
Aye, unanimously approved. Item 10A, certificated retirement 2024-2025. The administration recommends approval of the following retirement requests and also requests an appropriate resolution be prepared commending her for her years of service with the district. And that is for Sandra Seitz, third grade teacher, George Washington, effective 6/7/2025. Ms. Seitz has been employed by the district since September 4th, 1992.
Well, again, we have a person 32 years, I think she'll be at the end of this this year. And Sandra's been a great teacher working over George Washington. And I'd just like to express my gratitude for her many years of service and support to our students and the impact she's made over her tenure here in our district. So congratulations, Sandra. And well, it's so early in the year. We'll be seeing you around.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion and also thank Sandra Seitz for her incredible work over the past years to our district and also to ensure that we have appropriate commendation for her.
Second that motion.
We have a motion and a second, and all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. Unanimously approved. Congratulations once again. We're to item 12A, June 2024 CSBA Board Policy Updates, first reading. The board will review and revise board policies, administrative regulations, and board bylaws from June 2024 CSBA Board Policy Updates as stated in a first reading. Do we have any comments on this or discussion, questions? Nope. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the first reading?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimously approved. Item number 13, governance team member comments, reports, future agenda items, and board meeting reflection. And we'll start over here.
Yes, I just want to thank again everyone for coming tonight, for the presentations from the principals and for everyone that's in the public that's online as well. I think this was a very productive meeting. I also want to welcome back our fellow trustee. I know she's been going through family items, and we're just happy to have you back in this seat and doing this amazing work with us. And we still have 2 more days of the week to go. So from an attendance standpoint, hope to see you kids in school tomorrow morning, bright and early.
I echo the sentiments of Trustee Jordan. Nothing further to add.
I want to say keep up the great work. There's a lot of activities that are happening this weekend, especially highlighting our indigenous communities. And I know that there is free trips on Alcatraz and this weekend, and that students and families can take advantage of. And I encourage folks to do that. And just very grateful to be a part of this work with some incredible people. It feels good to be back. Thank you.
All right, I have nothing, further to add. Superintendent Mikulik?
Nothing to add, just happy week of the school administrator next week, and thank our principals for their presentations tonight.
All right, item 14, persons wishing to address the board on closed session items. This portion of the agenda is available for individuals to comment on or address the board on an item addressed in closed session. The maximum time allowed for any speaker is usually 2 minutes. No cards. All right, this time we'll take a 5-minute recess, and it is now 8:07. Thank you.